Hi everyone, welcome. Yep, the original red wigglers are due for a feeding today. It's been 13 days since our last check-in with these little guys. And at that point we were checking in on a feeding that came, what was it? It was 13 days ago, last check-in, 12 days prior. Yeah, 2 check-ins ago was 25 days ago when we gave them a whole bunch of fruit. And from that feeding, there was some kiwi remaining. And they were still working on it 13 days ago. I wonder if they're still kind of mobbing around that and working their way through it, or if it's been eaten already. So I think this might be all vegetable matter. Who knows? When we go through it, we might bump into a piece of fruit. From what I could see here, though, for the most part, it looks like stuff that was probably used to make a soup. So, yeah, that last feeding with the kiwi. There was a mango, half of a mango in each system. There was half of a banana in each system. So it was a really delicious, fruity vegetable 2 feedings ago. Or no, fruity feeding 2 feedings ago. Ugh, mumbling here. And at this point, I'm sort of treating these systems as foraging, but I've put a little twist on the concept of foraging. So in the past, foraging to me sort of seemed like, shut down access to all new foods, all supplementary bedding, anything. It was just sort of a shutdown and sort of forcing them to turn their attention to what remains in the system versus getting anything new. What we're doing here is sort of a hybrid of that, but it only retains the concept of not giving them any new bedding. We'll still keep feeding them, and we'll just reuse anything that's already been assigned to the systems, such as these pieces of newspaper out here. In the past, they had been sort of top coverings, like those 2 pieces of paper bag we just took off. But when they got really beaten up, we kind of reassigned them to just be the bedding that surrounds the feeding. And then the feeding was actually laid out right on the top surface here, versus being submerged, which is my typical way of feeding. And it was spread out. So that was also a little departure from sort of the focused feedings we usually do in a little trench down the middle. The foods were spread out. It was just radish leaves that they got last time. And it's not too surprising that 13 days later there's no sign of those radish leaves. It's just the fruits. I'm thinking we're probably still going to see banana peel and the mango seed, the mango that was cut in half, and the half of each seed that is in each of these systems. That's definitely going to be leftovers, stuff that's going to go with the worms to their new home eventually at some point in the near future. Pumpkin stem, that's going to definitely go with them to their new home as well. Here's the mango seed. I mean, only 25 days since this went in here, and when this thing went in, still had the mango on it. Still all the yummy fruit. This must be what remains of the kiwi skin, and there's no worm action on it whatsoever from what I could tell. It's been stripped clean of all the yummy food. Well, not all of it, because that right there is also going to count as food soon. It's just probably a little bit tougher for them to work that down than the juicy insides of the fruit, but they'll eventually break it all down. So for now, the action on that, all the juicy, damp, sweet portions of it have been consumed, completely stripped clean of its outer skin. Alrighty. And, I guess even though at this point, since I'm doing this sort of hybrid foraging, which in my mind just meant feeding out on the surface and spread out across the entire system, these old food items, I've just been sort of sticking to the whole thing of submerging them and putting them back where they had originally been placed when they were fed. And that feeding 25 days ago, which consisted of the kiwi and the mango and the banana, that was technically the last time I added any new bedding. So we put in a nice generous portion of shredded paper and cardboard down into the feeding zone before dropping those yummy fruits in. And since then, we've been devoted to, using old existing materials as bedding, like this newspaper here, and just leaving it to the worms to take care of cleaning up whatever remains of leftover bedding materials that's still floating around throughout each system. So that was our little quick tour of what had been the feeding zones of these systems. Since we're kind of foraging and surface feeding, I was just curious to dig down a little bit and see how the kiwi was doing. These look like they're seeds from an avocado, so I won't even fragment them into pieces any smaller unless it feels like it's really going to crumble. So if that's another slow composting item that's just going to have to end up going with the worms when we eventually haul them out of here, then better for it not to be so minute that we would not be able to zero in on it and locate it next time. So, well, you know, perhaps the old foods that were always getting fed down the middle and submerged can remain. But like we did last time, we're going to recycle this paper material to accompany the feeding out on the surface, and all these other things can just stay down there so they can be located in the traditional spot. Putting them out on the surface, I don't know if that would really provide any benefit. Oh, is that the just get that kiwi skin back down there too. So yeah, I guess that's just keeping in with where those items had been fed previously. And here too, these are the chunks of that avocado pit. All right, so let's go ahead and give them their feeding at this point. So I'll do what I did last time, which was really to sort of spread what remains of this newspaper out, and it's definitely less than it was last time. Not too surprising, but luckily they've still got a little bit of bedding type material that they could turn to if they feel they need it, not to mention all the stuff that still floats around throughout the system everywhere. So I think we've got a little ways to go in this foraging game before we start to see much less of this remaining bedding type material floating around everywhere, which will be nice. And don't forget those pieces of paper bag that were draped out across the top. As soon as we removed the bubble wrap in the beginning, you might remember there was just a couple pieces of brown paper bag resting out here as the replacement top covers they came on last time. And it already looked to me as if the worms might have already started nibbling on that stuff too. Even though it's like a double layer paper bag, it almost did appear to me like they might have even gotten through a portion of it. Well, we'll check it out closer when we get to returning them to the systems. So, I mean, at this point we're more or less done. My idea was to simply replace the top covering paper, back on with the bubble wrap. I don't know, do we indulge our curiosity, just take a quick peek out here? Alright, I think maybe all we'll do out there is take a peek just to make sure things look happy and healthy, and in each case I'm seeing worms galore. Lots of nice castings too. So we'll treat that as our super quick inspection of the outer edges before we call it a day here. So these systems definitely looking nice, and definitely going to be in the home stretch soon, I think, in terms of being ready to be harvested for their castings and to get the worms hauled out, relocated into a new place to continue their work. So I just wonder how much longer it's going to take for them to work down what remains as far as residual bedding type materials that float around throughout the systems. Well, time will tell. I'm not in a hurry, so I'm just curious. And once we get to that point where we feel like the systems are almost down to castings only, we'll start thinking about how we want to separate the worms from their castings, because there's different ways to do it. We'll just have to decide what kind of mood we're in when the time comes. Alright, original red Wriggler wormies. You guys are doing great in here. I'm very glad to see it. So that's the end of the video, everyone. I got a little bit of cleaning up, putting away to do, but I'm not going to keep you around for that. That's boring. Before I go really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.